Are we finally starting to get some clarity on the Florida Gators depth chart?
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I am Brandon Olson. Welcome to Locked On Gators. And we're going to start with the Florida Gators depth chart a little bit. We're going to talk about it throughout the entirety of the show. But I will say this just to open this. A lot of returning players started the spring as we're going to put quote unquote starters, right? Where a lot of them started the spring as starters. It didn't necessarily mean that they were going to start. It didn't mean that they were starting with a leg up over anybody else. The coaching staff was pretty clear about it multiple times, saying, guys who were here, they got the first reps. But again, like just saying, hey, guys who were here got the first reps. John Summerall, I'm pretty sure at one point said someone had to get them. And so the way we decided them was guys that were here were getting the first reps of spring. That didn't mean that they were the starters. It just meant, hey, someone had to get the reps. This coaching staff very openly took the approach of no one has earned anything yet. And so we're just going to put guys out there that have been here. The first spring scrimmage, depth chart wise, according to the depth charts that Nick De La Torre put out for Florida Victorious, by the way, which if you're not signed up, you should be. There's a competitive coach, competitive basketball program. Women's basketball is trying to get back on track with the hiring of Tammy Reese. Just saying, you should be signed up. And baseball, baseball's got a lot of work to do as well. But the first spring scrimmage depth charts felt like a lot of, well, let's try this, as opposed to this is who's going to start, right? Just based on some guys starting where, all spring we hadn't heard about DJ Coleman working with the Stars, despite, training, transfer portal window, we spoke about that. But all spring we hadn't heard about that. And then the first spring scrimmage happens and he's with the twos at Star. And that was just really interesting, right? Lagonza Hayward started at safety. And so we've seen that kind of take place, right? Where it's just like, hey, let's just try things. Let's just see what's going on. Caden Jones, you're going to start with the right tackles or start with the ones at right tackle, then go to left tackle. See how it goes. So it felt like a lot of that, well, let's try this in the first spring scrimmage. The practices since then, because I do think that was also partially just their evaluation period was, all right, like we're still evaluating things. Let's use this spring scrimmage, see how guys play in like a game situation, and then we'll go on. So from that first scrimmage, which was, about almost 2 weeks ago at this point, which by the way, spring game is this Saturday. I will be there in Gainesville if anybody is going to be there. Looking forward to it. But the practices after the first scrimmage and then the second scrimmage that was this past weekend, that feels like you're getting a little bit of clarity with things. Like Harrison Moore is someone that started the spring working with the twos at center. And we've heard, he was doing well. He's someone that when he announced the transfer to Florida, I think a lot of us kind of went, all right, he's going to start on the offensive line. We pretty much here on Locked On Gators, we said, hey, you might start at center, you might start at left guard because you played both at Georgia Tech under Buster Faulkner, who's obviously now the offensive coordinator, and could go either way, right? Like I'm a firm believer in put the best unit out there, maybe not the best 5 individuals. So could go either way. Harrison Moore, first spring scrimmage, started at center. Second scrimmage, started at center. There weren't a lot of guys that started at, started first spring scrimmage at a spot and then started the second one at that same spot. Harrison Moore was one of those after, again, seemingly, I'm going to put overtaking in air quotes if you're just listening, not watching, Jason Sandamella. right? Jason Sandamella, was getting early reps because, again, he was here last year. And I do, by the way, respect the little, and I think that's something you could do every year too. Like you could do that next year where you could say, hey, even if you were here with us in 2026, doesn't mean Jack Diddley for 2027. Come earn it. And so you could do that. I kind of do respect the whole, no one has a spot. The way we decided them, if you were here last year. And like we talked about with quarterbacks, I think it's completely insignificant for who started the first one, who started the second one, because I thought they would alternate and then go spring game. Harrison Moore is much more experienced than Jason Sandamella. Experience matters at center. Okay. We've never seen Jason Sandamella go out there and make calls at center and set protections at center with tens of thousands of people screaming. We've seen Harrison Moore do it. We've seen Harrison Moore do it against Georgia, who you're going to play. We've seen it. And honestly, I think that when a lot of people talk about Aaron Philo and the experience that he has playing in Buster Faulkner's offense, and how that may give him the leg up in the starting quarterback battle and the comfort and like, oh, well, he knows this about Buster's offense and he knows that and he knows the terminology and he knows these things. Terminology is changing. No, he doesn't know that. Yes, he knows whatever Buster's carrying over, but again, kind of expecting it to be at least a bit different from Georgia Tech. And I will say, I think that there is a bigger intellectual leg up from Harrison Moore than Aaron Philo. I think that the intellectual gap from Harrison Moore knowing the offense gives him a bigger advantage than it gives Aaron Philo for knowing the offense. Because again, not only did Harrison Moore play in the offense, Harrison Moore actually played in the offense. Aaron Philo came in, rotated a little bit. This year only threw passes against Gardner-Webb. Like, yes, Aaron Philo has experience in the offense from knowing the playbook and knowing the offense, but has he really done it? Because the answer on talking about, a significant basis is no. The answer there is no. Aaron Philo, yes, got more significant playing time in 2024 than in 2025, but in 2025, he threw passes against one team, and it was Gardner-Webb. Harrison Moore took a lot of snaps at center and a lot of snaps at left guard in this offense in games. So I think that the leg up is actually greater in favor of Harrison Moore at center than it is for Aaron Philo at quarterback. So yes, Harrison Moore should have been expected to win this job. Has he won it? Who's to say, right? But I do think that we're trending towards he's probably the heavy favorite for it, is how I'm going to phrase it. Just because I don't like to say that, battle's done. I don't know if the battle's done. But I do know one guy started both scrimmages at center. One guy actually played football significantly for the offensive coordinator. And one guy came here with way less eligibility and took the shot on Florida when he could have stayed at Georgia Tech under Brent Key. He could have gone to Nebraska under Jeep Wade, who was the Georgia Tech offensive line coach. That's now Nebraska's offensive line coach. Instead, he came to Florida under Buster Faulkner. I think that's much more of the case for, he didn't come here to be a backup. Harrison Moore, I think, is going to be your starting center. I'm good with it. Don't hate it. And I think we've got some other spots shaping up. We'll talk about more of the offensive line later on. But first, we're going to talk about the defense when we get back with Locked On Gators.
I'm Knijeah Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament Elite Eight wrapped up with the UConn Huskies staying undefeated at 38-0 after a decisive win over Notre Dame, while the UCLA Bruins rallied past Duke behind a dominant second half performance. On the other side, the remaining 1 seeds in South Carolina and Texas will be determined after their matchups against TCU and Michigan, respectively. Next up, the Final Four is set for Friday in Phoenix, with the winners advancing to the national championship on Sunday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And you can go ahead and get Locked On Gators ad-free with the Everydayer Club, plus members-only Discord access. Just go to lockedongators.supercast.com and sign up. It's $5 for the month. Just saying. Or you can save some money and sign up for the year all at once. We are going to talk about defense here because I think the safety room / star, we're going to call them the interior DBs, are really taking shape. Bryce Thornton has been the constant. He's wearing number 1. There's no doubt about who's starting. If you could argue that there were 3 guys coming into camp that were basically guaranteed to be the starters at any position, you would argue most likely 13, Jaden Baugh, 1, Vernell Brown III, and 1, Bryce Thornton. Because they said, hey, 1 means something again. Right? They're going back to it. They're going to it. So Bryce Thornton, you could say, hey, he was pretty much guaranteed to start. And again, not that he was given the starting job, but just I think that when you watch the film from 2025 and you watch what Bryce Thornton's doing in this defense, I think, or in that defense and see how it translates to this defense, I think you're going, all right, like, yeah, he was clearly your best safety. He's going to be the starter again. Right? He works his tail off, works hard, gets it. Yeah, makes sense. DJ Coleman came in from Baylor as someone that, here on Locked On Gators, we talked about it before we had any idea that Florida was even going to pursue him. And DJ Coleman took the 1s reps in this most recent scrimmage. And from what I've been told, has been taking the 1s reps at safety in practice. And so maybe that first scrimmage where Lagonza Hayward started at safety was more so you could say, hey, all right, like DJ Coleman, how are you going to do with Star with the 2s? Maybe, right? Maybe I think that was one of those we're just trying stuff thing. Because we also weren't really told, hey, DJ Coleman's been working at Star a lot. Like we weren't told that at all. But then came the scrimmage and he's out there. Then came this scrimmage, and he's taking the 1s reps at safety. I think that's a pretty good indicator. And I will say that I'm thinking the most likely combos, I'm going to call them, are kind of what I think a lot of us expected once you brought in DJ Coleman and Cam Dooley through the transfer portal, where I think your starting safeties are going to be Bryce Thornton at your boundary safety and DJ Coleman as your field safety. Boundary is the guy close to the line. Field safety is the deep safety. Then you're going to have Cam Dooley is going to be backing up DJ Coleman, in my opinion, from what I've been told, like not that I've been told he's going to do it, but from what I've been told, how things are looking, it's going to become that. Cam Dooley backing up DJ Coleman as the field safety and Lagonza Hayward as the boundary safety backup. That one is not something I've been told. That one's me speculating. But I think that's how it's going to be with, again, Lagonza took first string reps with the first scrimmage. DJ Coleman and Bryce took them in this scrimmage. And I do feel like this second scrimmage is a much better indicator of what you might actually see. Looking forward to seeing it, by the way, because that is what we've been hoping for, right? Bryce was your best safety last year. DJ Coleman was a dog at Baylor. Put your best guys on the field, right? And so I think that's kind of where we're seeing things take shape. I think your safety room this year is considerably more talented than it was last year. Part of that is because of, we'll say, an addition by attrition there with Jordan Castell going to Kentucky. Just wasn't a fit here, wasn't going to work here, wasn't frankly good enough. You've got better coaching now, which I'm counting that as in the addition by attrition. I know it's addition by subtraction, but flows better, alliteration, right? With Vinny Sinceri leaving and going to Georgia Tech to be the safeties coach, good luck. Part of that is that you brought in DJ Coleman and you brought in Cam Dooley. I think the bigger impact of the better coaching is the development of the younger players, right? With Bryce Thornton going into his last year, but Lagonza Hayward going into year 2, Drake Stubbs going into year 2, Caden Hall coming into year 1. I think Dylan Purter coming into year 1. I think that your safety room got better mostly because of the additions made more than anything else. It's DJ Coleman, it's Cam Dooley coming in. It's no surprise that, hey, these guys made our safety room better. They're going to be starting. They're going to be playing a lot. And they should be. I will also share that from what I've been told, quite a few people would be shocked if Kanye Clark wasn't the starting star for the Florida Gators in 2026. Yeah, and just from what I've been told, people would be shocked about that. I don't think it's very surprising because when the roster came out and you listed star as an actual position that people had, it was Kanye Clark, it was Eli Owens, and it was Dylan Purter. One of those guys played Power 4 football last year. One played JUCO football. One played high school football. That's not to say, oh yeah, that means that you're better. But that is saying, hey, those are the guys that you chose to put in that room. I think that from day one, the guy that played Power 4 football last year has a leg up. And I will be really interested because like I've said before, the UCLA, I don't know what they call the position, but the UCLA slot film from Kanye Clark, to me, wasn't as good as his outside film. Wasn't as big a fan of it. But again, hey, that's not for me to decide. It's not for me to judge. It's just, I'll be really interested to know if he's going to be used differently. I would imagine he's going to be coached much better because, UCLA's staff all got fired. But Kanye Clark is the guy that I'm expecting to be your starting star this year. I think that your starting interior DBs are not set, but they're starting to come together a bit more solidly with Bryce Thornton boundary, Kanye Clark star. Those are your guys close to the line of scrimmage. DJ Coleman as your field safety, which, yeah, for a lot of people, you're going to call that free safety. Boundary is strong safety, sure. But I think that's what your safety room and interior DBs are going to look like coming to fruition. That is a top 2 combination that you can have. I've been very open this whole time. I'm not going to switch up just because it seems that the coaching staff's doing something different. I've been very open that I thought your best trio to have would be Bryce Thornton as your boundary, DJ Coleman as your star, and Cam Dooley as your field safety. I'm very good with this one as well. A little more skeptical of it, but it still seems to be, like I said, a top 2 combination you can have at those 3 spots. We're going to go back to the offensive line when we get back with Locked On Gators. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like about it, right? You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Sounds like pretty good return there. Just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. You have live bets. You can see the player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free if it's the podcast and on YouTube. And to wrap up today's show, we're talking about the offensive line here because there are 2 other spots we mentioned, Harrison Moore will be your starting center, or was your starting center in the spring scrimmages. There were two other spots where the guy who started in the first spring scrimmage started in the second spring scrimmage, and those were left tackle and left guard. So if this is the kind of clarity that we're looking for, which again, like I said, this whole episode is us speculating about clarity that's coming to light, then your starting left tackle very well might be Eagan Boyer. And your starting left guard very well might be Knijeah Harris. Okay. The consistency there is, to me, something that matters. Again, not a lot of guys were starting in both scrimmages at the same spot, where you have it on from left tackle to center. You have that. While I don't think it's, again, definitive, it is interesting, especially as we're talking about trying to find the right combination of linemen to give you your best unit. You chose to not switch that from your starters, at least on the left side of the line, or left through center of the line. That was interesting. We've been told that Caden Jones is working at both offensive tackle spots this spring, trying to find out the spot that he'd be competing for both starting spots this spring, at left and right tackle. The first scrimmage, Caden Jones started at right tackle. He was with the ones at right tackle, and then took 2's reps at left tackle. Okay. So the first spring scrimmage, he played both tackle spots with both teams. The second spring scrimmage, he did not start at right tackle. He did not start at left tackle. He didn't start at all. Because again, Eagan Boyer started both at left tackle. And in the second one, Emeka Ugorji, who did not play in the first spring scrimmage that I saw, I didn't see anybody talk about him, didn't see him anywhere. Emeka Ugorji started at right tackle in the second spring scrimmage. Caden Jones had second string right tackle snaps. If this were truly a case where you're saying, hey, you're competing for both spots, and I want to make this clear also, I'm not saying that that they were wrong or lying about him actually competing. I'm saying maybe he's no longer actually competing for it, because if he was still competing for left tackle spot at all, why not give him snaps with the ones? If you're still in the figuring things out phase, why not give him reps with the ones or the 2's at left tackle? Like, to me, that was a big reason to say, hey, we want to see you in game situations at both right tackle and left tackle. So the first spring scrimmage, we're putting you at right tackle, doesn't mean you're the starter. We're putting you at left tackle, doesn't mean you're the backup. We just want to see you at both sides. Second spring scrimmage comes around, he doesn't play left tackle at all and takes right tackle reps with ones, unless he played it with the 3's, which didn't see any reporting of that. Right, I've only seen Caden Jones playing at right tackle in the second spring scrimmage, and it was with the 2's. So the fact that he didn't get reps with left tackle tells me, hey, maybe he's not in this one anymore at left tackle. He could still very much be in it at right tackle. In fact, I'd expect him to still be in it at right tackle. But, and again, like we will also have to say this for both tackle spots. Fletcher Westphal will be back and available fully for the for fall camp, from what we've been kind of hinted to, right? Or hinted at. So see him at maybe either tackle spots. Maybe he's at the tackle spot that hasn't been decided yet, if they have decided any of them. But he gets thrown into the mix as well there. Left guard seems like it really, like left guard seems like there really wasn't much of a competition for it. All right, because you had Harrison Moore, who is, again, someone that I've said, hey, maybe you play him at center, maybe you play him at left guard, and you just figure that one out. He seems like he's entrenched himself at center. I don't think he was ever really in contention for left guard. It was just a possibility that he had with him. TJ Shanahan, the Penn State transfer, he took second team reps at left guard in the first scrimmage, which was weird because he had almost exclusively played right guard in practice. But that's another one of those, hey, I think he's mixing things up and just trying stuff out because TJ Shanahan, who's been working mostly at right guard, took second team snaps at left guard. And Rod Kearney, who's working mostly at left guard, took second string snaps at right guard. So they just flipped the guards for whatever reason in that one. But so left guard seems like it wasn't really a competition because you had Moore taking over at center, and TJ Shanahan only really took reps at left guard with the second team in the first scrimmage. Took first team reps at right guard this past scrimmage. And frankly, that's a thing that we've been talking about since I think when he first committed, we talked about, hey, like he's got a decent chance at earning a starting spot at either guard spot. And after I wrote the scouting report about him for swampsignal.substack.com, I wrote, like, from this point on, I think he's going to be your starting right guard. I don't think you have a right guard that's better than him. I think that he's a really good fit for Buster Faulkner's offense and Buster Faulkner's run game specifically. He's comfortable with Phil Troutwine, and Phil Troutwine knows what you have there. Phil Troutwine's probably pretty comfortable with him. Kind of makes sense at that point that Troutwine is going to say, hey, I think TJ Shanahan's going to be my guy at right guard. Could be what's shaping up there. This is the first scrimmage that we saw him. I would imagine spring game, he's going to be playing right guard, and we'll figure some things out. But this offensive line seems like it could be coming together over here in the past, week and a half or so. So hopefully we'll get some more clarity there because especially, like, I know everybody's talking about quarterback. The sooner you get your offensive line sorted out and you know their strengths, their weaknesses, that helps your offense a ton as well. And that helps whoever is quarterbacking your offense. So that's vitally important and seems like we're getting some solidity here. I guess is that a word? I don't know, but seems like it's getting a little bit solid here. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free if it's a podcast and on YouTube. We will be back later on today to talk more Florida Gators. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work about the Florida Gators at swampsignal.substack.com, and I'll see you all next time.